Hi, everyone. Welcome to the AMS breakout session. I am Jessica Newsome from AMS Dairy Program, and I will be moderating this session. The session is being recorded and will be available along with the Q&A session after the meeting. Closed captioning is available using the closed caption button on the Zoom ribbon. You can use the Q&A button on the Zoom ribbon to ask any questions. After all the presenters have spoken, I will go through the Q&As and read them aloud for folks to answer. This is a reminder. Remember to watch out for the Market News Customer Satisfaction Survey. This should be available as early as next week in the form of a pop-up on the AMS and My Market News websites. A link to the survey will also be distributed by email to Cornell Main Library and GovDelivery Market Report subscribers. Our speakers for today are Jim Burnow, John Gallagher, and Jason Carwall. Jim Burnow is the Livestock Mandatory Reporting Field Chief with the AMS Livestock, Poultry, and Grain Market News Division. Prior to assuming his current role in 2020, Jim served since 2013 as the Deputy Director for the LPGMN in Washington, D.C. Before Jim joined AMS in 2001, he farmed in Northeast Iowa and was employed by the Iowa Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship as a federal state livestock auction market reporter. John Gallagher is the Deputy Director for Livestock, Poultry, and Grain Market News for the last 2 years. Before coming to L&P, he served as the Senior IT Project Manager in AMS for 13 years, overseeing the LMPRS and Mars development. Prior to joining USDA, his experience included working 10 years in the private sector for a variety of IT government contractors. John also served in the US Navy. John has a BS degree in public administration from George Mason University. And last, but certainly not least, Jason Carwall is the agricultural marketing specialist and has worked in market news for 23 years. He began his career as a market reporter, then worked as a supervisor and manager before taking on his current role as the lead subject matter expert for AMS on the MARS, also known as the public side as My Market News, and works with team members across all 4 different AMS commodity programs. I'll turn it over to Jim to take it away.
Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate this opportunity to be here and to help out with this. I'm looking to see if anybody else on the panel today has any comments or any statements that they would like to discuss, or we can get right into the Q&A.
All right.
Go ahead, Jessica. I do appreciate this opportunity to talk about market news. So with that, we'll let you present the questions, Jessica.
Okay, so we've gotten one question so far. I'm going to read it aloud for you guys to answer live. So this question: should we expect any reporting delays from varying market news offices, as there may be an increased employee turnover rate due to vaccination requirements for federal government employees?
Very good question. I think it's a little bit early or premature to assume that our staff is going to leave. We work under the assumption that everyone is going to get vaccinated, and we will continue to release the information as we have previously here. We think we have a great team that understands the needs and requirements of industry, but we certainly can cover most of our work with our staff. Does anybody else, would John, you have any additional comments you'd like to add?
No, that was spot on. That was spot on.
Barbara or Janet, or Kim, any other additional comments or concerns?
In cotton and tobacco, we don't have any concerns at this time about any turnover. We're a really small group that's fairly well cross-trained. It's hard to even tell when we have 2 or 3 people out, so we don't anticipate any delays.
And I would echo what Barbara said. We are a fairly small group operating out of Madison, Wisconsin. We do have cross-training for our employees, and I would really not expect any delays in our reporting.
Thank you, Janet, and everyone for answering that question. We currently don't have any more questions in the queue, so I will keep monitoring and let you guys know when some come up.
I do have some stuff that I can present. I didn't know, John, did you want to mention something about the app?
Yeah, I'm going to
Right.
share my screen real quick, actually. So folks, we're really excited. We have taken the leap and undertaken a pilot to develop a mobile app that runs both on iOS and Android. It's pretty much done and on the shelf. We are going through the approval process right now. I'm sharing some screenshots here of the wireframes of what it looks like, but basically version 1, which will probably come out here in the November timeframe, is going to report on both livestock, poultry, and grain market types. You'll be able to search by location. So if you want to search by miles from where you are, you can focus in on reports there. You can also report on by state, by commodity, or all reports. And once you do find the report, you can add it as a favorite and or subscribe to it. You can also download the data in an email of the data that is behind that report. We're really excited because we went into this equation with the requirement of a farmer in the field wanting to get a market report, and we engaged a vendor who has done this proven time and again on these apps, and it looks very professional. We're excited. Like I said, version 1 will be limited to livestock, grain, and poultry and grain, but version 2 and further will include specialty crops, cotton, and dairy market reports. We expect to have this pretty well received because there are other mobile apps out there in the marketplace. We are looking to complement that with this. With that said, Jason, did I miss anything on that topic?
No, the plan going forward is after we release the first version, next version is going to expand to all commodity areas and all reports we have once we get all the bugs worked out. But yeah, I think that pretty much takes care of that. I also want to go over just a couple quick things while we have the time here. We've given some pretty in-depth updates on our project with My Market News and our APIs in past data users meetings and in these breakouts. We have a lot of people using our APIs now, as well as the websites. And we get a lot of questions. So I was just going to go over a few things that commonly come up as questions to kind of clarify some of the areas that we have and what we have available. I'll share my screen here. So what I'm sharing here is the Postman software. This is a free software that we often use to query and test our APIs. So one of the first things that I wanted to go over was the fact that we do have 2 separate APIs, and specific reports are available in one or the other. Users often get confused as to where the reports are. The reason we have 2 separate APIs is we have 2 separate systems based on our mandatory reporting and our voluntary reporting. So what I'm showing here is the report list for our mandatory API. There's about 140, 150 reports in there. And the best way that we always suggest to get the list of what's available is to pull the reports list from that API. There's also some really good instructions on the DataMart site itself, which is down here in the lower left corner. There's some user guides on using that API that do a really good job of walking through the different queries that can be done, how to pull the data. You know, some of the examples I have here is pulling, you know, all the data for a single report using the report ID. Obviously, you can filter down and pull specific dates. Another thing I want to point out is a lot of our reports have sub-reports in them to make the data easier to consume. This is something that catches people off guard quite a bit. They don't realize that, and they have trouble pulling the sections. There are ways to pull all sections, or this example is just pulling the summary section of this report. So each report lists those sections, as you can see here. It's kind of confusing if you don't realize that, but once users do, it makes it a lot easier to consume that data. Obviously, everything can be filtered out, but one of the other areas on the LMR that I want to point out is like last year we did add the functionality of pulling corrections for specific reports. So users could identify when a report data set has been corrected without having to pull all the past data for the report. This one is specifically useful where you can pull certain, corrections for a certain report since a specific date to make sure that they're checking back for that. This particular report has only had one correction since 5/30, which was 5/31 in this example, but if there were corrections that had been done since then, it would pull those. We also added the functionality to pull reports published in the last few days to get the most recent information, and some other ways to get the last reported data set for a certain report. One other set of functionality we do have that's pretty useful is users can query our database and have it email the data set back to them in a zip file. This one has my email in it, which would send an email back to me with a link to go pull that data. It's a really nice way to get data. We can also send those and put users' emails in there and have those data sets sent to users as well. It's been something that a lot of users have found quite useful that I don't think have done a very good job of making known that it's available. Those are some examples from the mandatory on the, our Mars or My Market News production. We have taken a little bit of a different approach. We actually have 3 different versions of this live because of updates that we've done over the past. Version 1 was the first one we released that just has the basic report information. We very quickly pushed out 1.1 once we added report sections to the reports that wasn't available in the first version. This example here is a cotton report that has three different sub-reports in it. And users can pull those down. This is definitely useful for the larger reports. The cotton annual report, for example, has several sections to make it easier to consume that data or the data that users want. Last year, we did release version 1.2, which that added a lot of the same correction ability to identify corrections, to know when a data set's been corrected, and to do some of the same functionality I showed on the mandatory one, where you can pull for specific reports certain corrections since a certain date, and do some of that same functionality that I said in there. And this is also an example of just pulling the last published data set for a specific report. Some of the other functionality for this is the ability to pull the market type IDs, office IDs, and commodity IDs to be able to search for report data sets by those. This example here is searching for any reports that fall under the market type of 1008, which is egg inventory. You can also pull by market types for specific dates. So you can pull what report data sets are available by market type on specific dates. But as John just mentioned with the app we're doing, we have added quite a bit of functionality for that too. And that has a lot to do with identifying reports that are, by distance, by zip code, and some other things, so that users can identify auctions or terminal markets that are closest to them and get the most significant prices on those. There'll also be ways to identify national reports for those reports that are covering most of the countryside as well. But you can query reports by zip code, by distance from zip code, and also latitude and longitude for the geospatial as well. So those are all queries that are available through the 1.2 version of the file. And this also has the same ability to email data sets to yourself or to other emails as well that you query, and can pull those down a lot quickly by just getting the zip file. It's a very easy way to consume large amounts of data through the email system. Another update we're working on is actually having an API to pull the physical reports down. You can currently pull the physical reports through the API. We plan to update this to be able to pull groups of reports, physical reports through the API. We get a lot of users who are looking for copies of the older reports and want a better way to consume them. You can actually pull copies of the text or PDF reports through the API and save them down. That one is in its beginning stages, and we have more functionality planned for that as well. We are planning to release another version coming up, which is going to be 2.0, which has some more updates related to some of the changes that we've made to My Market News for some of the specialty crops items, and also some of the other application items. There will be data available to identify and filter reports by division, by the states they're in as well. So technically a user would be able to get a list of reports that are in the state of Missouri, or even get a list of reports, in this example, for reports that have feeder cattle in the state of Missouri, or any other combination thereof. So that's coming. We hope to release that version by the end of the year. And once we do, we will be looking to retire version 1.1 and 1.1. All of the versions are backward compatible, so all the queries will work, but supporting 4 versions would be pretty difficult moving forward. So we will be retiring some of those earlier versions, but we're definitely going to be giving several months notice to users before that happens. It's something that we would expect to happen probably mid next year when we'd be looking to retire those. But we'll definitely be working and getting information out to the users before anything like that happens. But we feel that the functionality of 1.2 and 2.0 is far better and gives users far more useful ways to get the data than those earlier versions. So we will be moving to make that change at some point. And also, one other thing that I was going to mention is the instructions were on, for the LMR API are on Datamart, but also on the My Market News site. There is a place with some pretty good instructions for the voluntary API that Mars My Market News API. And the only other thing I wanted to mention was we do have a web-based API that monitors report publishing as reports are published, and when the last updated version of reports go out. This is used by a lot of users to monitor when the report is updated, and then they go into the API to pull that data. These do list reports that have been corrected from the previous version, and also gives the ability to look at the last published date of any report we have, or even just go back in time. This one goes back 3 days to see what corrections have been made in the last 3 days. It's just another useful tool that we've set up for users. This was to replace, we had a very similar thing set up like this on our old system. This was to replace that, and we added more functionality to that to try to do the corrections here last year as well. So that's kind of all I had there. I just wanted to make sure we kind of walk through that. We do have a lot of updates coming, and a lot of new reports coming to the system, especially crops, especially is one I know people have asked about. We've held off on that one to get a few last updates in, and we also wanted to make sure we had made all the changes to the system so we didn't get them out there and have to make changes right away. So those are coming here soon. We don't have a specific date, but we are moving towards the final stages of getting those ready. I know on the main data users call we just had, somebody had asked about the bioenergy and the feedstuffs reports. Those are coming soon. I think livestock, poultry and grain are in preparations to actually release those in the November, December timeframe and start having that data available in the API. So there are a few reports that have been slow to come, but are going to start being released after we get some of these underlying updates completed. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share, and hopefully we have some questions or comments that we can go after from that.
So Jason, I was a tag team behind you there because we've learned from April 2020 to current, the API usage has gone through the roof in its popularity, both for LMR and for My Market News. And we will be introducing some, if I could share the screen here, Jason, I want to.
Yeah, just go ahead. You should be able to just share
All right.
it. I'll stop mine.
We are going to be introducing some dashboards. If you all remember back in the day on the Data Mart site or on My Market News, we had 4 or 5 different dashboards available out there. Tableau is now the department standard, and we will be mirroring the functionality that our quality assurance division, the grading division, offers here in this environment. We'll be offering both voluntary and mandatory dashboards here in the probably the next 3 to 6 months that will obviously pull in the API, and because we've had a lot of requests for both the feeder cattle and the mandatory cattle, and we're going to base what we do next on the feedback we get from our users. But do know that we are moving forward with some dashboards to replace what was sunsetted back in April of 2020. That's all I have.
Thank you, guys. Anyone else to present before we go into questions?
I think that's what we had to share.
Great. Okay, so the first question is, has the AMS ever done a survey to understand the efficiency gains among users from the development of Mars? Every report added to Mars saves me multiple work hours per month. Any validation of the impact may help justify additional financial support for further development.
I'll take that one, Jason, because we're about to launch the customer satisfaction survey here in Market News. I think it comes out on the 18th of October. And those questions will be captured in that survey. So we encourage everybody to participate so that we do gather that data, but know that the customer satisfaction survey is coming out here probably in the next week or 2.
Great, thank you. When will the full history of data be added to Mars to replace the need to run custom reports for history prior to the last past few years?
Yeah, we'll be working on that as we move forward. As we release some of the specialty crops, we're going to have those histories there when we do it, which is another reason that we've kind of waited to do those. And also as we release the retail, and then as we move through the year next year, we'll be bringing up all the past releases for a lot of the livestock data sets up to date and get that data moved over. That's proved to be a very time consuming and difficult task in a lot of areas because we have a lot of data to go through and realign when possible and bring that up to date. So our hope is by the end of 2022 to have all of that completed, but we'll be doing those, completing those as we move ahead from here.
Thank you. When will historical data from the older AMS data pooling site under the Run a Custom Report tab be transferred to Mars? Several grain and feeder cattle reports in Mars have historical data that only goes back through 2020, and it's a pain to get back and forth between the old site and Mars and then to reformat the data.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the same question about the same data. So yeah, we're well aware that that would be very useful and much more efficient than our current process, but we're working to get that completed as soon as we can. But it's it's going to be a few months for some of them, but they will start showing up, and we'll try to get notice out as we do that.
Thank you, Jason. So that's all the questions we've received at this time. Attendees, if you guys have any questions you'd like to ask, now's the time. So please type those into the Q&A box so we can go through them. And I'll give it a couple minutes. This isn't a question, but there is an attendee, Bill Lapp, who needs assistance with setting up something. So setting up something using the API. So I don't know if one of you guys could maybe help him out at some point. I'll pass on his contact information if you guys.
Yes, I have your contact information, and I will send you that bill. And I think you also had one in the chat about some of those links. I'll include that as well. I'll send you an email following the meeting.
Thank you. And someone in the chat had asked for the latest report links. I think you just said that you were going to link those in there,
I think that was
Jason.
Bill that asked that as well. So.
Okay. Outside of checking the reports list, is there a way to know when a given report will become available on one of the APIs?
Most reports are on, well, for sure on the mandatory side, but most reports are on a fairly usual schedule. Our intention, if you have specific reports that you're interested in, we can give you what that schedule is. But most of the time, for some reports, it's, especially like the auction reports, we don't have a lot of control over when those are released. So the best thing is that we can say is to monitor the web API that I just showed for when it's published, or look, for that last published version. We can give you, a lot of times we can just give you the day that we expect it to go out. But some of those sales can go particularly long, and it's difficult to pinpoint when that's going to be released. You can also sign up for notices through Cornell or through the My Market News site to get emailed once a report is released. That's another way to monitor specific reports as to when they are released, and once they're out, the data set should be available through the API.
This question is kind of in that same vein. The person is focused mostly on feeder cattle reports, but broadly, is there a report release schedule that can be accessed with times, days, and days of weeks on which reports are generally released?
I believe that Livestock has one in the resources section of My Market News, but I will definitely double check that has the times on it. If it doesn't, if you could provide an email, Lucas, we can follow up with you on that, or put it in the transcripts. I think we'll be answering those in the transcripts following the meeting. I believe the breakouts have transcripts as well, but we'll definitely check and see if we can get you a little more information on when some of those go out.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll see if any more questions roll in the next few minutes. Okay, so we're not getting any more questions from the group. So I'm going to say we should close this session. And if you guys think of any other questions, oh, one just came in. Go figure. Is there a process for recruiting sales barns or other data sources to voluntarily give the AMS data? Sale barns?
Sounds like a Russ question.
Yeah, I mean, Jim, I don't know if you want to take a
I
stab
can
at
take
that.
that one. As far as sale barns, we rely upon the help of our state partners. We have cooperative agreements in 29 states. It really is a collaborative effort to work with them to find out where politically as well as volume is within their state, what sale barns will be covered, and it ultimately comes down to funding. I think that takes care of it, Jess.
Thank you. Sorry, when I read the question, I was like, am I reading this right? So I'm glad that I was. And to the attendees, the links to the API addresses that someone had asked for have been added into the chat, and they also will be on the transcript if you want to access those. And I'll give it another minute to see if another question pops through. And the attendees, if you guys think of any questions that you forgot to ask during this session, please feel free to reach out to any of these folks. They would be happy to help you out in any way they can. And I think we're seeing crickets on the Q&A line, so I think we'll call it a close. All right, well, thank you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.